Hello chess friends and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing a game in the Alekhine Defense against the John Tracy Gambit. So I've got the black pieces here, and in typical Alekhine fashion we're going to come out and attack that e4 pawn. And this is the John Tracy Gambit where white wants black to capture the pawn and then get quick development with his pieces and start to coordinate an attack against white's king side in hopes of bringing absolute pressure over there. So one of the best ways to combat this is to just cut that bishop off right off the bat there, stop him from being able to jump in. And he retreats, deciding to keep that alive. Now, this is kind of an interesting move here where we decide to go with g6, intending to fianchetto the bishop and gain access to the best diagonal for the bishop right here. And this is pretty consistent with a lot of Alekhine setups. Another option I would have had here is to play the bishop out to g4, pinning the knight to the queen. Instead, we're just going to keep it Alekhine. White castles, we get the bishop out there, white attacking. And if you're looking at where you should reposition the knight, some people might say, hey, maybe I can go to c5 and put some pressure on this bishop. This is probably not a bad move. Instead, I'm up a pawn. I'm happy with my pawn development lead, so I decided to just bring the knight back, giving me double defense of my d5 pawn, playing conservatively. Brings out the knight, so now he has two attackers against that pawn. I decided to bring in a third defender. So again, just it's a principle of overprotection. So that pawn will continue to be safe. If I'm not playing that move, and let's say I just castle, and he has two attackers here, and he just makes another move, and I kind of forget what's going on there, and I decide I want to make a knight jump over here. Well, now he's got two attackers on that, and I just have one defender. So nothing wrong with a little over defense sometimes. So playing c6 here, he brings the rook over. Now we castle and get out of the way. Bishop coming in, trying to cut down this diagonal, and here is that pin in the Alekhine. So when you're playing the white pieces against the Alekhine defense, it's not the end of the world, but you usually don't want to let your knight get pinned to the queen by this light squared bishop. So he immediately moves to threaten the bishop. Now, should we bring the bishop back or should we take the knight? Is the question here. So if we take the knight, he'll most likely retake with the queen. And then he's eyeing this diagonal here. Problem with this diagonal is there's all these pawns, so he's biting on granite, and his queen will accomplish nothing there. And so that's what I decided to go with. So now his queen is just attacking all these pawns, which are all defended with each other. Swing the rook over. Now we've got two defenders on this pawn versus one attacker, so it's overprotection. He swings in the second attacker, getting the queen and bishop lined up on this diagonal with the intention to try to relieve me of my dark squared bishop. Your dark squared bishop in this fianchetto position is an extremely powerful piece for you. So bringing the knight out, intention here down the road to be able to play e5. And he comes in, and should we take this bishop or should we play a different move? Is the question. If we take the bishop and the queen comes down and takes, our king no longer has access to these two squares. He can start swinging pieces over and eventually tear down my king side. So we do not want to take the bishop. His bishop moving also allowed us to play e5, which was our intention, gaining space in the center. Swinging the knight back out of the way, taking spatial control on the queen side. Starting to swing the knight in. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me unless he's intending to come queen here and then swing the knight over so that the pawn can't take. Otherwise, that's a lot of knight moves, and he hasn't accomplished anything yet. And he's put his knight on a square where it can't go to any of these squares that are defended by my pawns. More space on the queen side. Here he comes. Now, this is a pretty complex position. And just to retract a little bit, if you're playing and you have an opportunity to play a move that then gives your opponent multiple choices with which to recapture, and you force your opponent to make a decision like that, playing against human players, there's a good chance that they're going to err and take back with the wrong piece, or take when they shouldn't have taken. So he plays, and rather than making a decision there, I decide to temporarily give this square to his light square, to his knight if he wants it, but to create an attack on the queen. The queen has to stay connected to this bishop. And he does a good job there. Further working on this bishop, so me taking here and then his bishop taking there would put quite a bit of pressure on my king side. So rather than allowing that, I push the bishop back first, take, and now I'm completely solid here in the center. White can jump in here with the knight and put pressure over here, but I of course can take. And then these two pawns firmly guarded by this knight. This knight cannot be harassed. A bishop can't come down here and pin it to my queen because my queen's not there. So this is a very nice setup here defensively going on. Here comes the knight. Slide the rook over. I don't mind if he wants to take here and then I recapture. I'm okay with that. Putting pressure on the undefended pawn. He comes over here to repin. Move the queen out of the way. And this is okay because this piece is still double defended. And now if white were to somehow get in a third attacker against it, I could just move it. So playing forward. Now, it's okay to ignore what's going on over here because I take piece with tempo on the queen. That move has to be responded to before he can come over here. Plus, okay, so he plays this pawn move forward. If he wants to take there and have doubled pawns, that's not going to do anything. And he would open up this file for my rook. So I do not have to respond. I do not have to respond to this pawn push. Take. He takes back with the rook. And now, should I respond to the pawn push on b3? Or should I not? Well, if I take and he takes back over here, now he has the file for his rook. So I don't like that. So I definitely don't want to take. I can't have a pawn push here attacking his bishop because his bishop and his queen are both attacking that square. I only have the bishop. I would lose that pawn. So one such move in this is going to be to simply play f5, kicking the rook. And he comes over here. And so now we can see white starting to mount a little bit of a kingside attack. What I have to watch out for here is now bishop in, and so let's just say I make a move, I go here, and I start a pawn push here. What I don't want to have happen is bishop comes in, I take, queen takes, with all this double pressure coming here. And if I don't take, let's say I play knight up, he takes, I take, and he comes in here with the queen. There's a lot of pressure mounting here. A lot of pressure mounting here. So f5 drives the rook over. We take here, he takes back, and now we start pushing. Now we start pushing. Bishop comes in. We know we can't take that bishop and let the queen come in. So here's where we decide to cut the queen off. We do temporarily give up a pawn. This is a bad move on my part, but this is just ideas for you guys to use in your games. He takes, I take, he takes back with the bishop. And now we get into that free rook. If you look here, this bishop eyeing this rook along the line diagonal, after takes, pressure on the queen. Now we're up. But there's give and take in chess. There's always give and take. I took a turn to take one of his pieces. He comes in with the queen and hits me with check. This is the move. Another check. This is the move. Threatening my queen. And so what do you guys think I should play here? Got pressure on my queen from the bishop. I could slide the queen over, working on his queen, trying to kick her out, or I could slide back the bishop, which was just hanging out in the corner previously, get it back into the game. Knight takes, rook takes here. So now we have double attack on this piece. And here I believe I played incorrectly. I believe the correct move here is just rook up, cutting everything off. Instead, I allowed some complications and took the bishop and allowed this, which looks very scary, but I did calculate this ahead of time. King can escape to here. King can escape to here. And for some reason, he decides he wants to kick away the bishop rather than just taking with the queen. You can see from the time on his clock, he still has 3.5 minutes left. I was down to 1:55. And there's still some trickery here to solving this for me, but hit the king with check, hit the king with check again. He starts to crumble now. Hit the king with check, hit the king with check, and we get mate. So just a few ideas there for how to defend your positions, what to do with pawn structures, whether or not to capture pieces or just ignore threats by your opponent, and a little bit about general Alekhine setup considerations. If you guys found this video useful, go ahead and smash the like or the subscribe button. It is the best move.